Homeschool parents, this is a message for you. As a homeschooler, I know you work hard for us. You have many different things to manage.
Our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program is your roadmap to a successful Waldorf homeschool journey. Gain the confidence you need to be the teacher your child wants and transform your homeschool experience. Homeschooling with Waldorf Essentials is one like no other. You not only have curriculum options, you can also add our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program onto your curriculum. What's in the Thinking, Feeling, Willing program? Rhythm, inner work, temperament, the Waldorf curriculum, learning and strengthening your skills in music, circle time, form drawing, handwork, painting, drawing, modeling, festivals, reading, writing, spelling, eurythmy and movement, and our bonus content. Something else you'll get when you join Waldorf Essentials that you will not find anywhere else is the community, and we all need that as homeschoolers.
This is your invitation to fill your cup. We know you're rooting for us. We are rooting for you too.
Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Melissa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and I'm super excited to have you with me today. Today we are doing another installment in our series on detailed planning, and today we're going to be talking about Class 4. Now, we've talked about early childhood and kindergarten. We've talked about Class 1. You can take what we're doing with Class 4 and you can apply it to Classes 2, Classes 3, Classes 5, Classes 6, and really even some middle school pieces. But we're actually going to do a middle school planning video as well after this one. So stay tuned for that if that's where you need to be. And the same with high school. We've done a high school planning video, but you can go back and see that one, listen to that podcast. But really, I'm giving you nuts and bolts on how I like to break things down. Now, really, this is because while I love to have people at Planning for Peace, I know that's not possible for everybody. So if you have a Planning for Peace journal, it would be good to follow along, or at least to have it so that you can sort of understand what it is that I'm talking about. If you don't have a Planning for Peace journal, it's okay. I will absolutely talk you through all of the pieces. So we're going to talk specifically about Class 4. I chose Class 4 because it is the first time, Class 2, you've got still quiet, beautiful stories. It's an extension of Class 1. Class 3, you're sort of growing that a little bit, so you've got a few more resources. But Class 4, you have to dig in a little bit deeper. And a lot of that is because while I can give you a great curriculum, I cannot give you the local history for your area. And so we do a lot of that in Class 4. So I'm choosing Class 4 as a reference because I want you to sort of understand how you then work with all of these like extra little pieces. So as I'm getting ready to do my planning, I sit down with all of my things. So in this case, I have my Class 4 curriculum here, and I have it open. If you are using our Class 4 curriculum, I have it open to page 13, which has the year at a glance. I also have a couple of books that I might require for reading this year. I have my Charles Kovacs Human Being in the Animal book, or in the Animal World book. So we'll be talking about that. I have my D. Ayers Norse Myth book here. And then, because I live in Florida, I have a great little book called Florida, A Short History. That is for me. And there might be some stories in here. I know there are some stories in here that I have given children to read, but it totally depends. It's written for an adult, so it depends on where your child is with their reading skills. I definitely would not hand a book like this over to them to make them read the entire thing. If you were to read from it, that would be a different story, but I like to use things like that for my own self so that I'm understanding the history. Now, I have moved, and maybe you've stayed in the same space since you were like 12 years old or a child. Like, got it. But when I started our Waldorf journey, we were in Idaho, and then we moved to Utah, and then we moved to California, and then we moved to Arizona, and now we are in Florida, and we are loving it here. We sort of like enjoy the fact that we can do that, and our children actually like that. So I have enjoyed the fact that I get to learn about something new just about every time I teach Class 4. So that said, when you're sitting down to do your planning, do your overall planning first. So if you know nothing about planning for peace and you've not been with me before, get a big piece of paper. You're gonna fold it so you have enough boxes on a piece of paper. If you've got a piece that's bigger than 8.5 by 11, that would be great. I like to use, a larger drawing piece. That's helpful. You're doing that so that you can get a bird's eye view of the whole year. Especially if you have more than one child, it's super helpful. So as you do that, you might only get 9 boxes on one side and you have to flip it over and do the rest of the year on the other side. So lay out all the months of the year, 1 box per month or 1 month per box. And then put all the birthdays in there. Anything that you celebrate. If you celebrate the moons, like we used to celebrate the tides when we lived in San Diego, so I put all the low and high tides there. The tidal calendar was super important to me. Anything that might interrupt your flow, your rhythm for the day or for the month. So make sure that gets in there, anniversaries, birthdays, vacations, when grandma's coming, all those things. Get all of that you can in there. I even put the birthdays for the people that aren't in our house because I don't want to forget. And so it's there and I'm going, oh yeah, I got to buy a present for somebody, that kind of thing. So all of that's in one place. And I have another calendar, but this is a different space. This is a school space. This is not my everyday calendar that I'm taking everywhere with me, because if I lose the school calendar, I'm in big time trouble. If I lose my personal calendar, I'm in big time trouble. So I don't want the two of them to be in the same place, because if I lost one, I'd lose both things, right? So lay out your year at a glance. And then once you have that layout done, then hopefully if you've got a curriculum, you're working with a curriculum like ours, even if it's not ours, you need to read that curriculum front to back. I cannot tell you how many questions I get, and the answers are in the first 20 pages of the curriculum. So read the curriculum front to back. Get a good understanding of what it is you're going to be teaching. And when you first read it, the first time I read through it, I do not read through it with Post-it notes. I might grab Post-it notes and make flags, so I'll go back and look at something, but I'm not making extra notes to myself. That first read through is just for me to get an understanding of what we're doing. Then that second time I go back through it and I'm looking a little bit closer at the blocks, then I got my Post-it notes and my pencil out. I've got my notebook out. I'm taking notes. And the reason for that is we really want to give ourselves opportunities to digest. So I actually wouldn't read the curriculum and do all the planning in one day. I would read the curriculum, let it digest, then come back to it, and then start your planning. You really want to give yourself the most, just the best time period so that you're not trying to stuff too much in, because we can't, just like our children can't do that, neither can we. Even if you were somebody who liked to cram in college and high school, trust me, you will learn better if you let it digest and then come back. I always have more questions when I've let it digest and then come back. So, all right, so now that you've done that, if you are, whether you're using a curriculum or not, using ours or not, we're gonna do the same process. So in your planning for Peace Journal, and even if you don't have one, I'm gonna tell you the headings. We start with a page that's a block plan. So I lay out the block plan because even though you may have a curriculum, I want everything that I need for that block in one place. So I can look at the page and go, oh, I still need to grab that book from the library. Oh, I want to make sure we go on that field trip. That's not housed in the curriculum. The curriculum will be hollow if you do not make it yours. It will not feel right. It will not feel like the richness that is Waldorf if you just try to do somebody else's. So using mine as a spine is wonderful and exactly how it's intended. Make sure you add the pieces you need to for your child and your family. So again, this block plan. So on this piece of paper, I write block plan, and I actually use I used our planning for Peace Journal for many years, but I've gone back to using a bullet journal. That's what I used before we made the planning for Peace Journal, but I just write the same headings in there. So grab a piece of paper, you write this heading. So it's gonna say block plan. I put the child's name because I have 5 children and I do not want to have to think about whose block plan I'm looking at. So I also put a place for time frame, but I may not fill out this time frame piece until later. So right now I'm just leaving a space for it, because once I lay out all the blocks, then I'm going to decide how I want to sort of interweave them. the block theme. So, maybe this is a Norse myth block. Maybe you're working specifically on grammar, local geography, human being and the animal, whatever the block title is. And again, even though I'm saying this for fourth grade, it really could be anything for any grade, because fourth grade is a really good space to be able to see like the fullness of block planning. Then I put the goals for the block. So what are my goals in teaching local history? Like, what are your goals? And this is a really important one. So if you are, say you are doing fourth grade and you are thinking about local history, you really want to think about those field trips that you might go on and think really heavily about them. So, I live in Florida, and I actually live near St. Augustine, which is the first U.S. city. And we've been many times to Fort St. Augustine for a field trip, many times, just to walk. But when we went in class 4, we went with a different, like we were there to learn. But I wanted to be really ginger because there was a lot of heavy content, at that space that she wasn't totally ready for. And I totally walked with her. And when she was done, I pulled back, because this is a layering process. And we don't want to give them all of the information and have them freak out a little bit and then close down. So it was a layering process. We did part of it in class 4. We did more of it in class 5 when we talked about the United States geography as a whole. We're about to head into class 7 now with her. So this is when we're actually going to revisit that space, because we had explorers like Ponce de Leon and other explorers that came here first. And then we have all of the colonization pieces and all of that. That's a middle school space. And that's a space that if you're bringing it too early, 1, they're not going to fully understand it. And 2, it's probably going to be very overwhelming to them. So we're layering that in. I layered in one piece. I'm going to layer in some more. Like, she's going to get the brunt of it between 7th, 8th, and 9th. She will completely understand all of those pieces. She will understand what actually happened here. And then she has those high school years to continue to digest that, ask more questions, and form more opinions. So just keep that in mind as you're sort of coming up with your blocks and looking at what you're doing with your child. You don't have to do it all at once. Layer it in piece by piece. So again, I write that in my goals for the block. Like, I wrote down what were my goals for local history. Well, my goals were, and this might be your child, my goals were that she could find her way home from the beginning of our development, that she would not get totally lost. And then that she could find her way home from the grocery store down the street. So we go into that within our curriculum, like how to help them map their area. So that was my goal. Like yes, we had this big macro goal of like understanding Florida, right? But really the micro goal is knowing how to get home, because it's pretty important. The next heading that I have is topics and concepts to cover. So you're gonna write down the topics and the concepts. Yes, you have it here in the curriculum if you're using planned out curriculum, but there might be some more pieces, especially when we're talking about like local history and geography. So it's really more local geography with history pieces like sprinkled in there for class 4. What are your topics that you're covering? There are things that are going to be specific no matter where you live that you're going to want to put in here. And then field trips and experiences. This is where I would list, all the field trips and experiences that are local. A lot of people like to go to the state capitol. If that's not possible for you, then, what landmarks are around you that you'd really like to make sure your child knows. There's one like beautiful thing that a lot of people in Florida do because of the way the state is shaped. They do a sunrise on one side and a sunset on the other side, so they can see the sunrise and the sunset over 2 oceans in one day. And that's kind of a beautiful, fun space to be in. So keep that in mind as you're planning out your field trips and experiences. The next heading would be outside materials and supplies that you might need. So this is where I'm going to put any pieces that, for geography specifically, I wanted a compass. So even though we made the compass rose, I wanted to make sure I had a good compass on hand so that we could learn some orienteering and that kind of thing in there. And then I also put a block book list. So that's where I'm going to put the books that I want her to read during that block, because I'm always having them read something that has something to do with the block while we're going through the block. That is not something I'm teaching from. It is something to go along with it. So again, the man and animal blocks. I love Thornton Burgess, so I have the Thornton Burgess Seashore book for children and the Thornton Burgess bird book for children. Those would have been on my list for the human being in the animal world block. So sort of keep those things in mind. Then you're going to go to the next piece where you're going to break it down. And this is where I often lose people, so stick with me. So yes, we've broken it down for you in the curriculum. Absolutely. And these block pages, these weekly pages, they're really just to give you more space to flesh out what you're doing. You may decide you don't like them. Some people decide they don't need them. My ADHD brain absolutely needs them. Pardon me. I absolutely need to go from block to weeks to dailies. It helps me to look at the week as a whole and to be able to see it on the same page as the entire month. So if you're using our journal, use those pages. Again, the heading would just say block, and then I do week 1, 2, 3, 4, however many weeks you have in that block. And then you're going to take it from there and break it down into your dailies. And again, yes, you have the curriculum, but my dailies don't just say what's going on in that in the curriculum. My dailies actually have other enrichment activities we're doing. So my dailies are going to list the books that she's reading, like where we are. That's why I love to have it in the plan, because I can then sort of keep track of what she's reading and how she's reading, how long it's taking, that kind of thing. I put like what enrichment are we working on? What handwork is going on right now? She is taking the enrichments over at our Seasons of 7 school. So I put whatever enrichment they're in, like whether it be music, handwork, eurythmy, or German. I put whichever one so that I know when I look at the block plan. And actually my husband and I team teach, so I want him to be able to see, oh yeah, she has eurythmy this week, so that he knows and it's there, and it is really super helpful for us both. Like I said, I also put down like what pages from the curriculum am I working on? What other resources do I need to make sure I have? If it's a Norse Myth block, I sure hope I have a Norse Myth resource. So, maybe I've got this Dia Lair's Norse Myth book. Also, I am still doing the drawings in advance at this point in time. I do that through about class 5. And then in class 6, I start to move towards one good writing piece a week, one good art piece a week. And I'm not doing all of it for them. So, that you've been writing with them, classes 1, 2, and hopefully by the end of class 3, they're writing on their own. So class 4, most of the writing should be on their own with a little bit of your help. But all of the art, you're still giving them art pieces. You're still doing art pieces together. That means you've got the prop, then you sit down and you do the art piece with them again. So you're doing it a second time. Sometimes it's a third time if you messed up the first time. So just keep that in mind. You're doing that with them. That really helps them because you're the art teacher. You're helping them know like how to cover these things. So that's really helpful. So you've got those pieces, and then you've also got your other parts. You've got your form drawing, which we, in the 4th grade one, we pull a lot of form drawing in with some of the Norse pieces. So sort of just keep all of that in mind as you're laying out your week. So yes, we make a pretty open and go curriculum, but yes, you still need to sit down and make a plan. So that's my prayer for you. That's the way you have a beautiful school year, a school year that feels full. You've taken the time. And I'm just going to be frank, it doesn't take as much time as you're making it up in your head. Sit down and do it. It takes a few hours. It'll take a few hours to do the planning part. And then you can knock out a drawing, a couple of drawings in a week for yourself and your own time. And you might say, Melissa, I don't have my own time. You should fix that. Watch some of our other videos or listen to some of our other podcasts so that you can figure out how to have some of your own time. But really, this is the biggest gift you give to your children. like having them love learning. And that really depends on how you show up and the planning you do. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful. The next installment, we'll talk a little bit more about middle school. And like I said, we've already done a video on high school. So if you need more help with that, please just let us know. Again, I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Have you heard of the Candle Access at Ariel's Light? This membership is perfect if you are looking for full-length podcasts and you want to catch the replays from the monthly gatherings. Your Candle Access also includes the Beacon Files, which are 40-plus hours of inner work content, as well as Biz Schooling for all the families homeschooling and running a business. There's the meditation series with the Introduction to Meditation, Meditation for the Parents, and Meditation for the Children, as well as our archive of 2023 with full-length podcasts and gathering replays. Join for only $5 a month at arielslight.org.